Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of our Goose of All Trades podcast, the second episode of the Meet the Candidates for Barker 2022. I have with me Maddy Fry, an independent tonight. Maddy, how are you? Thanks for joining
Hey,
me.
not too bad, Gareth. Yourself, mate?
Oh, doing not too bad, doing not too bad. Um,
Good.
so I guess, the first and easy question is, why are you running for the federal election and why as an independent?
Oh, mate. I'm running for federal election because I can no longer sit on my ass on the couch. The past 2 years, I've been pretty involved with the freedom movement around just trying to end mandates, border restrictions, density requirements in businesses, face mask wearing, and all of that. So the past 2 years, I got pretty involved in that. But as that kind of all come to a standstill, and we realised the government wasn't really going to listen to us, I realised I've got two options: is join the rat race and attempt to get in there and put some pressure on the guys from the inside that are in Parliament, or sit on my ass for another year and start to yell at the TV again and go, why are they doing this? Why don't they care about the people? So it was kind of one of those things. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to sit back and regret anything. And I've got a 5-year-old stepson and I want him to have the best future. And if I can show him that anyone can be a voice, I hope that one day he'll realise that himself.
Yep.
Um, that's my first bit. As for the independent, running for an independent, one is trying to find a party you align with. So I looked into parties, 6, 8 months ago when I thought that this could be an option, and I couldn't find any parties I was 100% happy with that I aligned with, and I wasn't going to just go and be another person that toes a party line. I aligned myself, then become a member of Australia One, spent a lot of time with Ricardo Bosie and all the supporters up in Canberra, and realised that there are a bunch of people that my morals and my vision for Australia align with. Then came the opportunity a couple of weeks out that I decided it's now or never. We'll crank it as an independent. Um, it's the only lawful way. Our constitution states that independents are the legal way to have people into parliament. I want to be an independent because ultimately the people then get their voice heard. Even if I don't agree as an independent, I don't have to toe no party line. If the people want something, I'll make the people get it. So I think it's just about being able to be, I don't want to be a politician. I want to be a voice for everyone in Barker, and being an independent is one of the main ways we can do that. So that's my choice for that, mate.
Yep. So, is it pretty much so you said kind of since COVID hit with the mandates and all that, is that when you decided that you wanted to go into politics, or have you kind of thought about it earlier and this is kind of just giving you that big push, or?
Oh, mate, when I was in year seven and I went to Parliament for the year seven Canberra camp, I was like, oh, this is a job I think I could do. Like, I get to talk to people and I get to get opinions across. But then I grew up and I started from a very young age. You start to see politicians, we serve them and they don't work for us. And you could see just so many things were missing in our communities. So I never, from that moment on, I was like, I'm never going to be a politician. Like, no way in hell, you could not pay me enough to do it. Even throughout the whole freedom movement, people like from all across Australia that I met up in Canberra when I spent a month in Canberra were like, Maddy, you should just run like state elections for SA or federal elections. And I just couldn't bear to think that I was going to be walking into where the scum reside, to be honest. Like, I did not want to walk in and become part of the problem. I really had to get my mindset. So I wrote it off. But until I looked at the people around me who looked so disheartened with federal elections coming up, that I thought, you're a bloody coward if you don't step up. Like, you've got these people who believe in you. They know that you can get their voice heard. And if you don't do it, they're going to lose hope and faith. So really it's for the people, mate. That's the only reason I'm in it.
Yep. So, obviously you stated you're unhappy with obviously the mandates and big freedom movement and all that. My question is, when if I guess all that kind of, for example, if you got voted in hypothetically and you fixed all that and that was all sorted, what are some other things that you would like to push specifically for Barker, if you were elected in? If
Yeah, mate.
if you can.
The mandates are just one thing, buddy. Like, they're important because people like myself are out of jobs that we actually thoroughly enjoy. But that's not our big problem. Like, we've got the biggest housing crisis in Australia, but really South Australia and in our Barker region from top to bottom, south to north, we are in a complete and utter housing crisis. The pandemic, yes, that made it worse, with people from interstate coming in and rental bidding occurred. That's one of our issues, but also the fact that, our South Australian Housing Authority, they sell off the houses or the houses get damaged and they leave them under maintenance and repairs for 18 months while we've got families of 5 or 6 with young kids sleeping in cars. Until we get this housing crisis sorted, I don't think we really can't move forward. It's one of our big things. So for me, mandates are important. Anything to do with COVID is important, but I've got a big focus on fixing housing.
Yep.
My other big focus is our hospital system sucks, mate. For Barker, like we have, I know people that I've been very close to deal with that have had to go over the border for medical treatment for cancer options and that. And to think that, someone that's potentially dying of cancer has to spend 6 hours in the car or 5 hours in the car while they're on chemo and they're not well, going over all the crappy roads in Victoria to go and get treatment over the border. We should be looking after those people at home. So you've got housing crisis is important. We've got like homelessness is massive. We've obviously got our hospitals, like we've got 60 FTE positions in the Mount Gambier Hospital that are vacant. While we've got the most amount of people going into hospital than we've had in a while, we've got no one to staff them. And then we're putting pressure on the current staff that are in there. And that's not fair on them. Like they've got husbands, wives, kids, extracurricular activities they want to do. Then we've got the things like we've got the arts that I can see have suffered from COVID. I'd love to revamp the arts up. Like that's a massive thing. But you've got the same issue of our land being sold off in Barker as per everywhere else in Australia. So our main focus put back on manufacturing, transport in our state, farming in our state, making sure we have better water rights, that we definitely do not get charged for rainwater, because that's something that potentially will happen in the near future. It's really all those basic things, without making sure you can have an income at home and maintain your livelihood without giving jobs to people. People can't create money. Then we can't create housing. We need to sustain the housing, improve our housing crisis. People need hospitals. We get sick, mate. We have mental health issues. We need more mental health support. We need to fix all of those things from a grassroots level. Then we can start looking at how the hell we get out of debt.
Yep. I guess that kind of goes into my next question, because I'm a little bit biased because I can be, it's my podcast, but I asked Vince the same question. I guess separate from the issues you've already brought up, what is maybe one or two major issues or policies you would like to bring into Mount Gambier, specifically that of Barker?
Look, do we have to, I will talk policies in a minute, but this is one teeny thing that whether I one day got on the council or one day I had Troy Bell's job or I was successfully elected. Do you know one thing, teeny thing in Mount Gambier, because I'm biased too a little bit, that I would really like to see, and people go, Maddy, there's big fish to fry, but we got to fix small things first. Dimjala Skate Park needs some toilet blocks, some shade for the kids, some more bins, and a barbecue facility. That is just one of my teeny little things that needs fixing.
Hey, that's, yeah, even if it's small, medium, or big, I mean, like, all stuff like that is great to bring up, because as locals, it might be, seen as a small issue, but, that would annoy a lot of people, and, like, that's also answers I would like to hear, because it's not just tackling the big stuff, like, because we know that all the big stuff takes money, time,
Yep.
a lot more work to be done, so we would also like to see some politicians do some little stuff as well, because we know that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, no, and it is like I can talk big things for Mount Gambier, especially. Like, obviously, I would really like to see. We've got a fantastic university, but we've got no accommodation for the people that go to that university, and that university can be a thriving foundation for us in Mount Gambier. I'd like to see more courses added to that. I'd like to see more regional funding put into that, including more scholarship grants to relocate from metro to regional. But with that, I'd like to see some of our local builders grab big contracts for housing estates. Like, people going to uni, they don't need a 3-bedroom home. They just need small units that they can all share in together, some communal areas. If we can thrive that education setting, look, we've got a great foundation. It's grown really fast, but I think we can really improve on that. So that's one specific Mount Gambier thing. But those little things we mentioned, Gareth, like especially Dimjala Skate Park or the railway lands, is the most beautiful area that we've been given. It is exceptional. But things like, and it's hard as local council to get money, but with people in federal government, we can push that harder and get the council the money they need. I'd love to see a proper stage put down there. We have so many people that use events, but it's a bloody wind tunnel. You go down there, it's cold, the wind tunnels through, some proper shading that's permanently put there, infrastructure, a proper stage put down there. And we've even got room, I think that ideally a small pump track like we've got out of the west end of town, put in there. It's a one-stop shop for family down there. Big issues, like I said, for Mount Gambier, I'd like to see us gain some more paramedics down here. I'd like to see us get us some more ambulance vehicles. I'd like to see mental health, our beds stop going. We get Adelaide people that need our mental health beds, and then they turn away people in our local area. and I'd like to see our university thrive. But at the same time, all those big things are solutions we can make with the people in the community. I just like to see some grassroots, grounds level stuff that we've been fighting for so long that gets put off to the side because state of emergencies are more important.
Yep, yep, yeah. Like I said, great answers. Um, I forgot to ask this question. Going back to what you stated earlier about when I asked you about being an independent, and you said that you looked at parties. Was there a party or a few parties that maybe you were close to thinking about being a part of, or was there really no parties that even got close to aligning with what you believe in?
No, I did look into, and I'm happy to be transparent about this because all the guys running for these parties are amazing. Um, Australia ones meet One Nation, United Australia Party UAP, and AusFed. It's quite funny because we're the five people fighting strongly this election, but there are also the other three parties that I did look at.
Yep.
But once you look into the nitty gritty, I just found things I didn't align with, and I didn't want to go in as a party. So really, they've got great policy, they've got great candidates this campaign, and a lot of them, Craig Kelly, Malcolm Roberts, Pauline Hanson, they've all been banging their hands on the table for the past 2 years. I think they've got some great policies, but at the same time, they toe a party line. Their candidates don't have to get 100 signatures. Like, we've got to get endorsed by the people. And they've got to go with party policies half the time. So it comes down to, what do I really want? Well, I don't really ever fit into a box, and I don't expect the people of my electorate to fit into a box. So a party is a box, so I thought we might as well be a circle and get ourselves in there that way.
Yep, yep. Another very, very good answer. Um, Sorry, I just lost my question.
You're right, man.
So I guess, what is the biggest disadvantage of running as an independent? I guess there's a lot of disadvantages, but what are maybe one or two, or maybe even three, that are really making it hard for you, or really pushing it to your limits?
Um, really quickly, it's resourcing, like literally money. For us in Mount Gambier, when you're an independent and you don't have big political funding, like, I want to use local suppliers for my printing, but I'm running on a shoestring, so I've got to look elsewhere, and it breaks my heart because I'd like to support local businesses more than anything, but at the same time, I need the people to support me to do that. So it's the funding side of things. We don't have, UAP have millions of dollars. We don't have that. It's the people as well, getting supporters. When you're with a big political party and you're not an independent, you have endless contact lists that you can just be like, okay, let's fill the booths, let's ring these people. We're really relying on, family, friends, gathering support. It's doing our mailboxes and drops and our printing ourselves. So it's just getting those hands on the deck. But also, one of the biggest struggle is getting people to realize that as an independent, we can still do the job the parties do. So you've obviously got, running a campaign is really hard because we've got lack of money and resources, but it's also just, right now we're trying to break that barrier down, that the money is always going to be there. Like, the money to fix things will always be there. Yes, we're in debt, but we can get out of it, but we can fix the things. But it's hard to find genuine people and independence. We've got a great independent member with Troy Bell, and he has done so much for us, and it proves that you don't need to be with a party to get it done.
Yep,
So
no, I
it's
agree.
just that it's just that stigma, like, oh, well, you're an independent, you're a nobody. What are you going to be able to do? Well, we're going to be able to do as much as everyone else, but if not more.
Yeah, that's right. And the thing that I said to Vince last night too, that I find very interesting doing my research, is this is going to just state election now, because I didn't have a lot of time to do federal, a lot more research into that. But with state, for the last, I think, 80 to 100 years, we have voted in 5 independents, 3 Liberals and 2 Labor, or maybe vice versa. But majority of our seat holders have been independents. That goes to show that Mount Gambier, specifically, is really willing to vote in independents if we think they're going to best serve our community and surrounds. And yeah, like you said, Troy Bell's done a great job. Don Pegler did an
He did
impeccable
an
job.
amazing job.
Yeah,
Yep.
impeccable job. I was sad to see him not stay back in, but then we got Troy, so it was kind of lose-win. But yeah, and that's
We have people everywhere. So, like, you go up into Canberra, when you're networking, I network with people all across Australia. They are so envious of how many times we've secured an independent. But then you can't be envious. It's a credit to our people. It's a credit to, one, that they're obviously trusting enough to trust a person and not a party. So voting a person instead of a politician. But also, I think it shows that we're willing. You've got to work a lot tighter as a community with an independent. The independent really has to listen to the people, but the people really have to be willing to collate and work with the independent as well. We have so many people when state elections came that went, how the hell did you guys, through all this crisis, secure your independent again? Like, for sure, we thought that you were going to be out. But I think it's a credit for Mount Gambier. It's massive. And I would love nothing more, whether it was Vince or myself, we got an independent in for federal, and we had a federal level and a state level independent. One, our people, especially in Mount Gambier, because we'd have two levels of it, their voice would be heard entirely, but we'd be a bloody inspiration for the rest of the country. Like, there
Oh,
would be people envious of us.
100%. If like I did do a lot of research, like I said, but I think of the last 100 years, I think 96 of those years have been Liberal in federal,
Yep,
if I'm not mistaken.
correct.
So if that was the case, if independent was voted in federal, that would be a landmark election, federal elections,
Mate,
especially for
we
the whole
already don't
nation.
have enough houses, but we wouldn't have enough houses to get everybody over here that wanted to move here. And that's the thing. If we were run independently on a federal level and Mount Gambier specifically on a state level, the people want to be heard. We would have influxes of people. And I mean, that's great for our businesses that have just opened up again. But we definitely need to get this housing issue under wraps to be able to house everyone down here. But I think we could boost our economy massively just by putting in independence, because people want that. They want single voices, they want to be heard, and they want to close up and move away from that party stuff. We have a really good opportunity.
Yep, and with obviously the history that we brought up of Mount Gambier voting in independence, like if that be state, does that give you confidence that Mount Gambier's obviously shown that support? Does that give you a little bit more confidence that obviously Mount Gambier isn't all whole of Barker, but it makes up a big chunk of it? Does that really give you confidence? You think, hey, Mount Gambier supported, independence in state. Why not federal? Does that really give you a big push
On the
in
bad
confidence?
days, but on the bad days when you go, am I like, what am I doing? Like, I'm running in a big rat race and I'm literally a teeny baby mouse. I do pull on that. I look at Troy and I go, like, the people have built rapport with him, and they are willing to accept an independent. I do draw on that, and it gives me that teeny boost. Obviously, as you mentioned, Barker's a huge electorate, and I just hope that the people, up north of Barker can look and go, well, Mount Gambier has survived having an independent. So yeah, you're correct. It does. It gives me a big boost. It makes me confident that it makes me confident that we're not blind to what's happening, that we realize that it doesn't have to be a major party. I'd like to see that through the whole electorate, but I mean, change can happen now, can't it?
Yeah, well, 100%. And I guess probably a bit hard to look forward because you kind of want to live in the now. But have you looked forward, and if you don't succeed with federal, have you looked into local council, interstate elections in the few years? Is that something you've looked forward to, like in the future, or are you kind of just living in the now?
No, mate, I've looked forward. I'm here for the people now. Now, like, obviously my entire life, I've loved to help people. I've loved to support people, and I've loved to be in ear. I worked 6 years in residential care supporting children with developmental trauma who had been removed from houses that had abuse, neglect, sexual abuse. So I've spent a lot of my time doing community services jobs where you're there for the people, and I don't want that to end. So, this is a great learning curve for me. I'd love to be successful because, one, I'd love us to have Mount Gambier independent and a federal independent would be fantastic. I
Yeah.
think it would be great, but on that, yeah, I'd love to put myself up for the council this year. It's just a thing. I'm not gunning for a like federal government job where I get paid millions of dollars. Well, it's not millions of dollars, but a lot of money, more money than I've seen being unemployed.
Yep.
I'm not gunning for that. I don't need a fancy office, and I don't need to be in that White House, sitting on the top of the hill in Canberra. If I'm down here and I'm working a job, but I still get to be a voice for the people in Mount Gambier on our local council, I'd be stoked with that in November as well.
Yep. It's great. And I guess for your followers and everyone that wants to vote for you, that if they get to the polling booths, they vote for you, then afterwards it's not the result they want. They know that they can look forward to voting your name down again, which is really really good. I'm glad you've looked ahead. And yeah. We're to the random question segment now. I did notice that this year for Barker, we don't have a candidate from the Animal Justice Party. For people that maybe wanted to vote AJP this election, is there any policies or issues or anything you have surrounding that of animal cruelty or issues or policies around animals or live export, anything like that?
It sucks that we don't have AGP because there are so many people that is a big party for them. It is a big letdown this election. The hard thing is with policies is you end up getting all these big picture ones. You talk about transport industries, you go real big, how are we going to end all of our partnerships overseas because they're doing us damage. This is the bonus of being an independent. I love animals. I mean, it could be literally a bird in the sky that I feed from my balcony or my dogs. I am one of those people that I cannot believe in the 21st century, we are still inhumanely killing animals. We are still got no legislation that really supports any animal. I'm not, it could be farm livestock or just people's pets. So, do I have any direct written policies? No. Our policies overarching all come to do no harm to any living thing. So, that's human and animal.
Yep.
Will I bang on the goddamn table to make sure our animals have just as much rights as the people? Hell yeah. I was going to swear then. So, for
That's all
me,
right.
that's the thing. As an independent, I have, yes, I've got policies from a party that, like Australia One, that I like to follow. But me, this is the thing, I get to wear policies from a group of people I really like, but I also get to wear me, Maddy Fry.
Yep.
Am I going to make sure that animals are brought into federal election this year and that we actually stop animal cruelty, that we actually start to realize that they are living beings and they're not just stuff that we can slaughter and inhumanely kill? Yes. And does it benefit us as humans? Yes. Because we start to get meat that's actually decent for us as well.
Yep. And that's that's a good point because I'm a chef myself, and I know that
Yep.
being in that industry is happy animal, happy meal. I mean, it's not that's
Correct.
a lot of AJP followers won't want to hear me say that, obviously, but it's the truth. For obviously that industry side of it, like the meat side of the
Yep.
butcher career side of it is it's a very very good point. Happy
And
animals is a happy meal. So
and that's the thing. I know that there's a lot of AJP supporters that won't like to hear that. But the reality is that we are a meat eating society. But the thing is, we can eat that meat with respect, and that's what's been lacking for years.
yep,
And yes, you can taste it more. And I get to the point where I think, oh my God, you don't even want to think about how they're slaughtered, and you can taste the difference. And yes, if we could all wake up one day and be vegan, it'd be fantastic. But we can't. A lot of us, we choose not to, and that's for our own choices just as much for vegans. But what we can do is, if we're going to choose to eat meat, we can choose to eat and look after the animals the right way.
yep,
I want to bring moral back to Australia, and that starts with our animals as well as our kids and us as humans.
yep. And do you have any policies with education, childcare, or anything from that sector? Around education, I guess, is the key word.
Yep. We're not bringing out, we're going to slowly drip out in the next fortnight our policies in detail.
Yep,
But in regards to our policy briefing, which summarises a bit more what they're about, we definitely do. One of our main factors, if we're talking children in general, is going to have a big approach on the child protection system. So really looking into how we can support those young people to become thriving, community members as they get older, and to give them the support they need. We know that they've been dealt a hard card in life, and as a society, as a state, we all owe it to them. They didn't choose their lives, to make sure that they can grow up with everything they need to be the best version of themselves. So looking at that child protection, how we can put more funding into foster carers to make sure we've got these children in homes instead of residential and commercial care facilities. But the education system, hell yeah, man, it needs an overhaul. Obviously, it starts with getting the right teachers and making sure they're paid properly and supported properly. We send our kids there and they spend more time than ever before. But on there, that's the other hand that we've got, is we want to put a really big focus on parent-led teaching. So making sure parents are more involved in the child's education. It's not often the parent's choice to not be involved. It's just the school takes the kid and they run sometimes. And it's like, there's no strengths-based learning. The learning's not based around the child. We know that, you can meet 6 5-year-olds. None of them are the same. 6 15-year-olds, none of them are the same. So it's making sure our education system becomes more strengths-based, that we want to put a focus on making sure individualized plans, they're made with the family, the child and the school, and they're stuck to. But on the other side of that, big focus, which has come out of COVID, is a lot of families have realized homeschooling is their thing. The stigma from homeschooling has been broken down. So it's making sure the resources come this federal election, the resources, whether it be financial or physical resources and support, are there. So if families choose to have their kids homeschooled, we see it as something that is valuable and we actually support them. So yes, education overall, man, it's one of our most important things, and making sure our teachers and the curriculum in the schools aren't smashing stuff down kids' throats that shouldn't be there. Parents need to know what their kids are learning and when they're learning it.
yep, yeah. Another great answer. That answer will that will please a lot of voters because obviously heading into election, a lot of people have because everyone's different. They have their different tiers of what they think is a really important policy, and then down the
Yep.
thing. So, but yeah, a lot of people go into the voting booths and really want to back someone that they know is going to fix things about education or overhaul it or whatever it is. They just want someone that's going to really bring focus to that. So it's really good.
And they do, and rightfully so. Like, one of my dream jobs is to be a teacher, but also one of the best times in my life was being a student, because I had amazing teachers. And the education system, just from me being out of school for 10 years, you can see the decline in it, and it's no one's fault. It's under resourcing, it's underfunded, it's understaffed, and there's globalist control over it. We're starting to lose the control over what our kids are taught, and it's bringing it back to basics, making it more life skill focused, making sure our kids know how to manage money as they get older, making sure our kids have those skills, so they're not 21 years old just going, well, how do I do tax for the first time? There's a lot that our education system needs, and the focus needs to be there, because we don't treat the young people right and teach them right the whole way through. Who leads us one day?
Yep. And I guess I asked Vince the same question. It's probably not the best analogy, but we've kind of already touched on it. Do you feel as though coming up against someone obviously like Tony Passon, that has been backed in Barker for 10 years, or coming up to 10 years now, and last election he got over 60,000 votes, which is a big, big chunk of votes. Do you feel as though this is a real David versus Goliath type situation? But also we all know how the story ends. Do you feel as though you could be David and you really believe that the people will back you, and obviously you hope the people will back you? Like, is that a good analogy, or maybe you have a better analogy for that?
No, David and Goliath is a great analogy. I do have another analogy, but David and Goliath is a great analogy. I'd love to see the underdog win, but the one difference with David and Goliath is that it was really this little boy fighting this battle against this big giant. I'd like my people a bit closer fighting with me. So my analogy that I really like to use is my partner made me sit down and watch. I think it was the 300, that Spartan movie.
Oh, yep.
Yes, and that's the way I see things at the moment. So where I'm
That's
a
a good one.
potential leader of the Spartans, and you've got a bunch of people who you're pulling different groups together, but you might only have 300 of you. We're a small minority, but our guts, our determination, and our fearlessness, I think, whether we win or not, the impact we have against the Greeks and the millionaires and all of that, I think we can put a big impact in. So yeah, man, David and Goliath's good, but I feel like I'm part of the Spartan tribe at the moment. I'm one of the 300.
Yep, that's a very, 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 very good analogy. Much better than mine. I guess, yeah, for obviously your followers and my listeners slash viewers, who is Maddy Fry as a person? Like, what outside of this election, who is Maddy? What do you do? What are your hobbies? What gives you happiness, and vice versa. Sorry, etc., etc.
No, I get it, man. The past 2 years, though, it's been a bit crazy with all of the stuff we've been doing. You kind of forget to worry about you as a person. But if we bring it back, I love music, play guitar, trying to teach myself saxophone. So music's a big thing for me. Even just listening to music. I love to write. One of my big things is I love my dogs. I restored a 1974 combi van with my dad. So I've got my Volkswagen combi, which I absolutely love. Spending time with Jake and Bex, our 5-year-old. I'm in love with superheroes. So whether it's just watching superhero movies or getting more pop vinyls to put on the shelf or just looking at stuff around superheroes, that's really good to me. But really for me, it's just pretty much my friends, my family, but anything to do with the beach, hence the combi van, anything to do with music, I'm pretty happy. That's me. That's my hobbies. Who am I as a person? I'm not a politician, but I'm someone that does have leadership skills and tends to somehow empower people. I really hate listening to myself. So I can see the time remaining 8 minutes and 23 seconds. I'm like, thank God I don't have to listen to my own voice. But for some reason, people go, keep talking. I'm like, nah, I'm done listening to myself. So you have to be done. I'm someone that understands that everybody just needs someone to listen to them. Everyone needs someone that non-judgmentally accepts that their experience is their experience, whether it be right or wrong, it's their experience, and that's what we've got to help them with. I'm someone that has a drive to make change in the world, and whether that's just getting, an extra bin at a skate park or making Jake's life a little bit better or becoming a real superhero one day, I'll make change somehow. So I'm driven and I love to learn. I stupidly enroll myself into too much study just because I like to learn new things.
Yep. I guess to kind of round off the interview, what's maybe looking outside of Barker and maybe just your personal views, what are some, I don't know, ideas or policies you would like Australia as a whole to kind of lean more towards or revert back to, or anything like that?
Obviously, basic one is end all the state of emergencies, let people go back to their lives and let vaccines be a choice. That's just one.
Yep.
But I think Australia needs to look at their contracts with overseas powers that be, the big people in control overseas, the globalists. We need to look at becoming a sovereign, self-reliant country again. We have everything we need here in Australia, and it's about time that the politicians wake up. We start watering our own backyard, supporting our people, and become. We are a place people envy, where there's massive plot of green land with a nice blue ocean surrounding us that has every resource possible, and we need to make the most of that. But
Yep.
number one thing I think the government need to wake up for federally this time, don't take our cash away from us. They need to end the cashless society bill, not move into the digital identity. We need our cash. We need it to be backed by our gold. We need it to have some, fiat currency. It's false. It's fake. Our current money is not backed by anything. And we need our money systems to be backed by something to increase the wealth of our country. So on a big whole, become sovereign, self-reliant. Australia is a main focus. Bring it back to grassroots and make sure you don't take our cash away come June this year.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. I guess to truly finish off the interview, just for your followers or anyone that wants to vote for you, how is there any way that they should vote on the ballot form? Obviously, they want to vote for you. Put number one, but does anything else
Yep.
matter, like preferences, blah blah blah? Just for people that maybe don't understand the whole preference thing and don't understand the whole voting situation.
First things first, your preferences matter, guys. It sucks. We're never taught it in high school. I'm talking to 18 years old kids that are leaving high school now going like, voting, I don't care. I'll just draw something on it. I've been there, I've done it, but you don't realize now's our time. This election is so important. This election is the start of a big movement for Australia. Your preferences matter, and making sure you vote on that card matters the most. Take the how to vote cards, take all of them. You don't have to talk to the people. Take them, and while you're standing in that long line and you don't have a sausage because there wasn't many sausages at state election, read through the how to vote cards. But better yet, do your research beforehand. Have a look at the parties, what they stand for, and don't even take your how to vote card. Make your own before you go. My number one thing this year, and I've stuck to it for the past 2 years, and I'll stick to it till the day I die, vote the majors last. They've had their chance. National, Liberal, Labor, and the Greens have had their chance to fix our country, and they continually destroy it. There is nothing an independent like myself or an independent like Vince Pennell. We can't make it worse for you, we can only make it better. So my number one thing this year, vote freedom first. Barker, you've got UAP, you've got One Nation, you've got AusFed, you've got Vince and myself. If an independent worries you, chuck one of the other freedom parties up there so you feel more comfortable. Pop Vince and I second or third. Vince and I run by the same policies, we run by the same moral values, but we're two different people, and we've done that intentionally for you guys, because where someone might not like me being so out there and they might be worried I'm too young, we've got Vince who's older. So we've given you guys the choice of independence this election, even though we both stand for the same thing. But it's really important. Make your vote count. Don't go in there and roll your eyes. I know it's hard. It's hard because for so many years I was like, voting, I don't want to fine. I'll just vote so I don't get fined. Make your vote count. Do your own research. Take pride in being part of this country and having a say. Educate yourself and vote the majors last and vote for freedom first. We have got a website which has three of our South Australian people on it. So saindependence.com.au. You'll find information there, but you'll find me on Telegram, Facebook, Gab, Truthbook, Instagram, Twitter, all the rest of it as well.
Yep. Yeah. Well, thank you for all that information. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said earlier, there's a lack of platforms, but also lack of information out there for people that are unsure about voting, and maybe they haven't voted in the past, but they're compelled to vote this election. Yeah, that's a lot of great information. Thanks, Maddy.
Gareth, we'll also just be doing, we'll be doing obviously our round starting tomorrow around all of Barker, but
Yep.
next week following, we're going to put a few focused nights down here on just doing how to vote nights. It's not about me as an independent or anything. We're just going to get a couple of educational people to come through, and just for those who don't know how to vote and get overwhelmed by it and don't understand the green ballot paper or the white ballot paper, we will be doing some information sessions. So that'll go on my Facebook page if people are interested in learning how to vote and make the use of their vote.
Yep. Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you so much, Maddy, for this interview, and thank you for answering all my questions. And I'll obviously tag your Facebook page in my information so people know exactly where to find you and contact you. And I'm guessing you're obviously happy to ask any questions that anyone might
Definitely,
have.
mate.
Yep.
Yeah, my phone number's on there too. People can call, the emails there, whatever.
Yep.
This is about the people this election. So anything they want or need, now's the time to raise your voice. If you don't want to be a politician, that's fine, but at least speak to those of us who are trying to help you.
Awesome. All right. Well, that brings the second episode of Meet Your Candidates for Barker 2022. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. And tune in tomorrow night as I'll be interviewing David Swiggs from the UAP. All right, guys, thank you for listening.